Hello and welcome to 310 to Left, presented by New England Ford Dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 49 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. Tom, Caron, and Lou Merloni in our separate rooms in Toronto. Lou, how you doing this morning? I feel like we just yell out the window. We could have done this, but yeah,
I know we should have just found a room and just sat side by side or something like that, kind of rather than the split screen.
Listen, Red Sox lost. Now you got 3 in a row. Bats have gone a little cold. We're going to dig into all of that, but we're going to start with the rule, with the play last night. I feel like you should get credit because it was the rule that you first introduced to New England. You said that's the 4th out rule, and I said, all right, Lou's hit Toronto a little hard. Let's get him out of the booth. Yep. There's 3 outs in an inning. But first of all, how did you know that was what was going down? Like, when did the light go off in your head? Because it ended, and immediately all we're talking about is it was mass amnesia. No one on the field knew how many outs there were, right? Yeah. Everybody thought there were 2 outs. And then the inning ends, and now the umpires get together, and you're like, oh, I think we got the 4th out rule in effect. How did that pop into your head?
Yeah, listen, it's not like I had this thing right away, because I think the first half of it, you're trying to figure out why everybody in the field thought there were 2 outs. And I noticed the scoreboard had 2 and actually changed to 1 as the ball was coming down. The pitcher and the catcher thought there were 2 outs. They weren't looking for the tag play. The catch, it should have been, by the way, a sacrifice fly in a 2-1 ball game anyway, right? But think about it. Valenzuela with 1 out should have been at home plate expecting a throw on the sacrifice fly. He's walking off the field. So the first half of that, I think, was spent trying to figure out why everybody and their brother thought there were 2 outs. But it wasn't until Chris Guccione took the mic and said it's a timing play and started talking about the out at first and not at third. In 2022, this happened with the Nationals. And it was a 2nd and 3rd play. There was a diving catch in the outfield, and everybody took off. But they threw to second base to get that guy, not the guy at third. And it was a wild play. And to be honest with you, somebody had sent it to me, I think like a year ago, and started talking to me about a 4th out random rules. And this was one of them. And they sent me that video. And I remembered it, and it clicked when Guccione started talking about it. But obviously the managers were on top of it. The umpires were, because between innings, they all kind of got together. But it's a wild play to think that somebody could actually score without tagging up. And you have to actually have a 4th out to take it away. And it just didn't happen.
The easiest way I've figured out to explain it, I did this to someone this morning. They were like, that's it. That's how to explain it. So the way I've decided, Lou, the easiest way to explain it, imagine they had tagged up. Imagine they remembered there was only 1 out. You got a guy on 1st and 3rd, and they both go. You throw the guy at 1st base out, but the guy at 3rd base had already scored. Yep. So that would count. That run would count, even though you ended the inning, because it's like you said, timing play. It's not a force out. Yeah. So that run
run down.
And so you have to say, no, he left the bag early. Then you have to prove it by appealing. But once you leave the field, you can't appeal. That's it. I mean, that's right. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think we all admit it's a dumb rule. It's just
in
a dumb rule.
In the age of instant replay, it doesn't hold up well.
No, it just doesn't. It's not common sense to me, And I don't know if you remember or not, but this has happened a couple times to the Boston Red Sox the last couple of years at first base. Speaking of dumb rules, to where you actually technically don't have to touch first. I think there was a play where Verdugo did it one time. I think Romy Gonzalez was at first base and bobbled the ball. Wyatt Langford missed first base. But the Red Sox and the first baseman wasn't aware that the guy didn't hit the bag and had to appeal right away. And there's no way you're going to appeal right away because you can't see it. And that's a dumb rule. And it's happened to the Red Sox twice now in the last few years. But this one here was strange. Like I said, in the end, if everybody knew what was going on, it would have been a 2-1 ball game, sac fly, Cedar Rafaela, men on first base, 2 outs, and it would have been normal, but absolutely chaos ensued.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to let's run it because they had a pool reporter go in and talk to the umpire after the game. And just so here's what he said. It gives it does. Yeah. You just went through the rule, but this also sort of gives a little context on how it went down, why they stopped and waited as long as they did. So here's the umpires after the game last night.
So in this situation, we had 1 out. Fly ball to the center fielder. Both Boston runners, thinking there was 2 outs, just took off. When the 2nd out was made, now we have 2 runners that have failed to return and tag up correctly. So at that time, the guy from third had crossed home plate. The guy that was at first was standing at second. So Toronto knew that he hadn't tagged up, threw to first base to make the third out. Well, that's a time play, meaning it's not a force play. If it's a force play, the run does not score automatically. Mm-hmm. If it's a time play, was the out made before or after the runner crossed home plate? Well, in this case, being a time play, the runner crossed before. Right. Yes, the out was made at third. So in this case, it's what you call an apparent fourth out. So in order for Toronto, for the run not to score, Toronto would have had to make the appeal at third base before the infielders left the infield. Once they left the infield, then at that point, the run scores, and we're where we're at.
All right. By the way, that was Chris Guccione, the crew chief. But he said, and I asked Tracy this after the game, it didn't come from the Red Sox dugout. Tracy said he knew the rule, but he just had never seen it enacted. And he said that, like you said at the beginning, Lou, they were just all sort of caught up in how did nobody know how many outs there were, that nobody was thinking of that rule. And it was actually Guccione who said, no, hey, I think this rule might be in effect. We need to call the replay room and tell New York it's a timing play. So good on the umpires.
Yeah. And, it was funny, too, because between innings when that happened, obviously we thought a commercial and we're just sitting there like, oh, my God, that's a bad look, right? I mean, 2-0 ball game, first and third, the one real rally you have, and nobody knows how many outs there are. But you saw the three base umpires kind of meet behind second in the outfield and start sprinting, not sprinting, but it's maybe their sprint, I don't know, jogging towards home plate. And you're like, I wonder what this is about. And then all of a sudden, one umpire goes to each dugout and there's conversations with both umpires during the break. And you're sort of like, okay, what are we doing here? We noticed that the scoreboard was wrong. And I'm like, well, they can't do that. It's not their fault. I think John Schneider after the game said MLB controls the scoreboard, not Toronto. We're not no shenanigans going on here. So they're not going to put runners back on. And so you really didn't know kind of what was going on. I didn't at the time realize that, the fourth out rule there until Chris Guccione actually mentioned the timing play. But obviously that was what it was about. I think Schneider's complaint was that, we didn't have a chance to stay on the field. You kind of waved everybody off the field. You know what I mean? So by the way, the umpires went about it, but that's not really much of a defense.
No, and it is interesting, and the scoreboard part of it, because I think that's really what factors into all of this, even though it shouldn't. And Guccione, that interview went on with the pool reporter. He said last night, he goes, I hate to say this, the scoreboard is a sort of a favor to fans. It's a courtesy. Yeah. He goes, doesn't mean anything. The score, because the count, right? We see balls and strike counts on scoreboards wrong all the time. So you can't go by the scoreboard, but both Sogard and Siegler last night. Thank you, Siegler. They both told me after the game they knew there was one out. The coaches told them there was one out. 3 times he said. Epperson told me there's one out. But as soon as everybody looked up and saw that ball, because the ball literally crossed in front of the 2 outs on the scoreboard. So I know. Pitcher, catcher, guy at first, guy at third, all followed the ball, saw there were 2 outs, and lost their mind because they saw 2 outs on the board. Even though, as you said, it changed to 1 before he caught it. But nobody was looking when it changed to 1.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, you're just told that there's 1 out, and it's sort of like in a split second you're questioning your beliefs, because like if that was a fly ball to right field, if that was a fly ball to left field, everything probably would have stayed normal, right? Now, Siegler, I get, because you could actually see him sort of pause, wait for a second, and then keep running, sort of like what's going.
And he looks back. He looks back halfway down because Eppy's probably yelling at him, right?
Yeah. But then he looks up and he sees 2 outs. But then he looks up and he sees Sogard continuing around second. He's like, okay, I guess there are 2 outs. So it's sort of
and the catcher's headed to the dugout. The catcher's not waiting. The catcher's walking away.
Think about it. I mean,
right?
this is a sac fly, and when you look at Woods, Richardson should have been behind home plate, running to go behind home plate. Valenzuela should have been moving the bat, setting up at home, getting ready for a throw at the plate. The minute that ball is hit, they both walk off. They cross the foul line, high five each other, thinking it's 3 outs. So just a absolutely bizarre play. People will remember the 4th out. I know people in Washington, know the fourth out because I got burned on it by 2022. But you learn something every day. And for people watching, it's something new.
Yeah, and all right, so we'll hear from the two runners now, Siegler and Sogard after, and they saying the right things, that it's on them. They screwed up by not knowing the outs, but here's their explanation how they saw it on the base paths.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Got to know the outs. That's where it starts. So that's there's no excuse there. You got to know the outs. That's it.
They didn't seem to know. I mean, the pitcher catcher walked off. Scoreboard had it. Like, any idea why?
I think maybe there was confusion on whether Vlad had caught my ball, is my guess. For me, like my personal routine, I always check the scoreboard between every pitch. But the scoreboard's been wrong dozens of times in my career, and I've known the outs, so you got to know the outs. That's it.
Epi, he told me how many outs there were, and he told me the situation we were in and how to deal with the situation, what to do as a base runner. I mean, I'm sure, like Sogi said, we just got to know the outs right there. The ball was hit. I saw it. I looked up as it was going to the outfield. I looked at the scoreboard, like, coincidentally, and saw 2 outs, so I just took off. No excuse there. It's unacceptable. But like I said, I just got to know how many outs there are in that situation.
So when did you?
Yeah, before the ball was hit.
Yeah.
Did you think it was 2 outs or 1 out?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Epi. I assumed there was 1 out because he was telling me all this stuff, and then right when the ball was hit, I mean, it's kind of like a routine for me to just really look at the scoreboard. So it was before Raf had hit the ball, and then as it went up in the air, I kind of confirmed that there were 2 outs, and I just took off.
When they started talking about the rule, were you trying to follow along? Did you know what was happening?
I didn't know what was happening. I asked the umpire like right when everybody heard the situation. But yeah, I didn't know what was going on.
Ever seen that before?
No, never seen it.
Nobody had except the people in Washington. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But, and I conferred. As we were walking away, I went back to Siegler and I said, just to make sure, Epperson was telling you there's 1 out, right? He goes, oh, yeah, over and over.
Yeah.
You kind of lose your mind when you see that 2 on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it's just, it's a weird play. It should have been a 2-1 ball game. It should have been a sacrifice fly. And unfortunately, it's just funny. Like the big picture, honestly, you score 5 or 6 runs like they've been doing during a hot stretch. We're not talking about any of this. We're not talking about a Jaron Duran route the other day. We're not talking about a bad pitch, a 2-strike pitch from Whitlock. We're not talking about a 4th out. We're not talking about this mistake or that mistake or this little mistake. And unfortunately, you lose a ball game and it becomes a big discussion.
So, yeah, bats go cold, and they're cold right now, right? A couple of guys who really struggled pitching against you last night. You didn't have much of anything going on against them, and you're in this 16-game and 16-day stretch. You've had some guys go through some things, right? You've had Contreras sick and getting hit by pitches and fouling balls off, and you've got Yoshida coming back from illness. This is tough sledding right now for this offense.
Yeah, and you kind of knew it going into this stretch as well. People just look too much at opponents and don't really look at a calendar as far as like 16 straight days. This team was, 31 and 32 and 5, and they grinded. Durbin played every day. Monasterio played every day. Rafaela, Abreu, all these guys, they played every day. They grinded. Things were rolling. Everything was going well. And then, you lose a ball game and you look up and you're like, okay, we got to go to 16 games here. I need to start resting these guys, okay? This team put themselves with that 27-3 run and however far back you want to go to put themselves in a position to be able to take your foot off the gas, to give some guys a break and make sure you are ready when it matters, and that is in mid to end September to going into the postseason. It does say you're going to lose ball games. You're not waving a white flag, but you can't run Monasterio into the ground or Durbin or Rafaela or Abreu into the ground only to sit there in mid-September and be like, they got nothing left. Same with the bullpen. So you're in this stretch where you got to be careful with starting pitchers. You're in this stretch where you got to be careful with position players. The offense has hit a lull. There's no question about it. But, your run gave you the benefit to be able to do that right now, and you're still in a comfortable spot. I don't care about losing 3 straight. I really don't.
Yeah,
because play better baseball, and they're going to be just fine.
I think that's really important that you bring that up, Luke, because I think what happened to a lot of fans is they've been so hot for so long that we all got caught up looking at the above us, looking at Tampa Bay, right? Looking at the 5 games out of the East as opposed to the 7-game cushion you've built behind you to make the playoffs. You know, not that you're giving up the battle for the American League East, right? But all of a sudden you drop a couple games now. You go 7-8 back of Tampa. You're like, oh, well, now we're back to the wild card. The team that you thought had no chance of making the playoffs in mid-June, fans are now getting upset that they might have to settle for the first or second wild card spot. That's where they put themselves, right?
Yeah, 27-6. You know, pretty good run. What this little 3-game stretch has done is prove those out right when they said 27-3. This team isn't that good. So congratulations. Apparently, people thought they were a 135-win team. I did not either. So it's sort of like, it's such a joke. And they could win so many games with people like, they're not this good. Yeah, no shit. Like, I mean, really, they're playing good baseball. They're not going to win 140 game pace, you know? So they calm down a little bit, which is going to happen. They got a tough job here with Cease here tonight and then Soriano. Get through this 16-game stretch. Let them get back to having some off days, resting some starters, resting some bullpen arms, because they grinded the hell out of it for 5 or 6 weeks to even put them in a situation to where we have a summer again. So let's see how it goes here again tonight.
All right, with Adley Rutschman now joining the team. He'll be catching tonight. He will catch Patrick Sandoval as he joins the team officially. Here's what Chad Tracy had to say about Adley Rutschman.
Anytime you're going to add a middle of the order bat into what you already are doing, you know, that's exciting for our team. You know, I know, you know, he's excited. So it's you know, getting that in there and another really quality at bat will be helpful. Will be helpful at any team, you know. But for us, yeah, it's exciting.
Adley's been out. Go ahead, Pete. The Orioles have talked a lot about his leadership and the way he works with pitchers and stuff. I know he hasn't been on the roster, but how much of that have you kind of seen?
I've just dug into it with different people I've talked to and everything I've heard about him. So at the moment, it's just I've heard that to be the case. And my conversations with him, he seems like an awesome dude. He's very engaged. So like my observations match it, but actually getting him out there working with our guys and watching them work through pre-outing, post-outing stuff will be telling. But I suspect he's going to be fantastic at that.
He's been out not a terribly long time, but still a few weeks. Just the 5 innings behind the plate the other day. Is there going to be an easing in process when he's activated?
When we get him there, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't expect that you'd see him back there like 3 days in a row right out of the chute. Like you said, he hasn't been down long, so don't feel like his legs are completely out of shape. But like there won't be. I think maybe asking too much to fire him back there right out of the chute for like 3 days in a row. That's probably a little much.
All right, so getting back tonight, perfect timing, right, for everything we just talked about. You're going to drop this guy's bat into the middle of the lineup. You're going to add him, really at a good time. You need a spark? Here you go. Here's Adley Rutschman. Go get him.
Yeah, Dylan Cease, go get him too, right? But no, and this is the thing. It's like, I think Connor Wong has done a really nice job. And people want to talk about offense and everything else, but when we give all this credit to this rotation, we never want to talk about a catcher going through game calling and getting them through games. But the reality is your catchers hit 9th. So Adley Rutschman is one of the better defensive catchers in the game. Okay, and has been for a long time. His framework, his throwing, his receiving, all of it, leadership skills. So defensively, you're getting better at the catcher position. Your catcher's not hitting 9th, he's hitting 5th or 2nd. I don't know. Depends on where you may want to put this guy. So that's the big improvement that you're getting, a presence. Now, is he a 300 hitter? Does he hit 30 home runs? Like, I don't know what people are expecting. He gives you a good at-bat. Okay, he doesn't strike out. He draws a ton of walks. Is he going to hit 250, 260 for you? Probably, which to me is a consistent presence in the middle of your lineup, especially with what he does defensively. So it's a huge add and a nice boost when you just hit a little 3-game rut to come to the ballpark knowing that Adley Rutschman is playing today for you.
Connor Wong yesterday made that catch on that foul bunt pop. Slammed, jerked, didn't really slam it, but it's the jerk of the head that you worry about for a concussion. For a minute there, that looked scary.
Yeah, it did. because obviously you think about the catching position, right? And this is why everybody always talks about, like, why don't you ever just announce what you're going to do in 2 days? Well, because something can happen. So we don't know what the decision is going to be. And Connor Wong, that little whiplash action, I don't know if there's a concussion testing, if there's concussion pro, there's a 7-day IL concussion to push this decision further along for 7 days. We have no idea. If he feels well, I find it extremely hard to believe that the Boston Red Sox will move forward with Rogers and Rutschman, two catchers that don't really know the ins and outs of pitcher-catchers meetings or meetings in general, how things work. I think, do they keep 3 catchers? I don't know. I know they like Jake Rogers defensively, what he's like in the clubhouse, the type of person he is. But I just don't see Connor Wong being off of this baseball team the next 24 hours or maybe even 6.
Let me ask you a question here, Lou. It's sort of popped in my mind. Wong has been so good with Sonny Gray. You guys talked a lot about it last night, right? That's Sonny Gray is going to fight really hard if there was any talk of moving Connor Wong. But if it wasn't for that, if Connor Wong was just Connor Wong, didn't seem to have a relationship with the best pitcher on the team or your number one starter, do you think they would have considered he's got an option left. Do you think they would have considered trying to slide him down? Because you can call him back up in September, on September 1st in 3 weeks. Do you think they might have tried to do that to keep all 3 catchers?
Well, I think maybe it's a little bit more of a discussion because it is about keeping bodies, right? Like you could option a Connor Wong down, have Rogers and have all 3. If you don't do that, you have to DFA Rogers, and now you only have 2. But I do think, Connor's been there a long, long time. He's worked with Andrew Bailey. He's worked with all of these relievers, all of these starting pitchers. From the catchers' meetings to the pitchers' meetings to all the little things that go behind the scenes. This guy's been there a long, long time and, has helped out Rogers adjust and Rutschman kind of having those discussions right now about catching certain guys and the ins and outs of it. So just the structure of it alone, losing that, I think would be hard. I do. So I think Connor Wong is a really good backup catcher to Adley Rutschman moving forward. I think you feel good about that position moving forward when you start looking around the league at some of the backup catchers in this league.
All right, you heard Chad Tracy say it'll be Rutschman behind the plate for Patrick Sandoval tonight. You're going to hear more from Chad Tracy. I sat down with him. That's coming up next as we continue. It's 3:10 to left, presented by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 49 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. Lou and I are back right after this. 3:10 to left is presented by your New England Ford dealers, who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 3:10 to left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. We welcome you back. It's 3:10 to left, presented by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 49 years. Caron and Lou Merloni back in Toronto. I sat down with Chad Tracy yesterday. It's our game plan for success presented by Mass Mutual. Scan to learn more about their Grand Slam giveaway. Enter and see the official rules at massmutual.com/Red Sox. Lou, let's hear from Chad first, then we'll talk about it after. Here's Chad Tracy talking about returning to Toronto, where he managed his second major league game back in April.
Oh, a lot. I remember that day feeling very rested that day because I didn't sleep at all the night before. So, this was game 2 for me, and actually had a packet of information where I could prepare, for a series rather than the first day in Baltimore. And as you said, there were still a couple staff members that we were still trying to get here and trickle in. So we were still kind of operating skeleton crew for that first couple of days. So drastic difference from the last time we were here.
I remember you saying early around that time that, when the game starts, the game's the game. Yeah. You've been doing that your whole life. Yeah. It's this. Yeah. There's a lot more of this. Yeah. When you look back, now that you've got 90 under your belt, how much faster were things moving for you just in that sort of 5 to 7 o'clock range compared to handling the time management now? Yeah,
now it's like anything, it just becomes part of the fabric of your day. It's just I know when I go to the field, this is how my day operates. I have obligations, between this time frame, and then I go in after this is over and I prepare, with Bales on the pitching side and mentally lock into the game and get prepared. Then all that was new. So you're kind of feeling along how is my day supposed to look? I have Abby, I have somebody here that's helping me structure the day. None of that I have down there. So it was just, most of the time when you're doing something new or the unknown, it moves a little faster on you as you're trying to get used to it, but now it's fairly normal.
You mentioned the coaches. Epi was with you in Baltimore. You guys get up here and you start rounding out that staff.
Yeah.
You had a couple off days that were kind of important, I remember, for the coaches just to sort of get together.
Yeah.
Talk about that group now. How proud are you of what they've been able to do on the fly, really, with this team?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's talked to me and asked me a lot of questions about, what you walked into and this, and I remind people, well, they did too, so there was a lot going on at the time, and the team was struggling, and then it's very easy to point out, now there's new staff, and a lot of them are minor league coaches, and there's a lot of scrutiny involved in that, and they went through that too, as they were trying to get themselves settled, and I'm pretty proud looking back on it with all the different things that happened, that as much as I feel that way, I look at them and they look settled too. It takes time, but they've definitely settled in.
The question I get asked a lot around Boston, I'm guessing you get asked a lot too. What's changed? When you get asked that question, what's different over these last 6-7 weeks?
It's hard to pinpoint an answer to that. I think you've asked me, a lot of people have asked me that, and it's difficult. I mean, on the surface, the offense changed, that's the easy one to go to, is the offense changed. But there was other things that changed too, we had people get hurt. We had people come up that you didn't expect were going to contribute, that had to come up and become contributors. They brought energy. That changed. The style of play changed, within the runs. Some of the things we do, we showed it yesterday. We didn't score a ton of runs yesterday, but the inning we did, we got 2 bunts down and hit a ground ball through the left side on a run and hit. And it was and at least we're in position to win the game. So there was so much. The run scoring went up, but the ways in which we did it, the energy of the team, guys got hot. There was so it's difficult to say here's what it was. It was a collection of things that made it turn.
Finally, a week ago today was the trade deadline. Hard to believe, feels like a long time ago already, right? But forgetting about individual guys who were coming in, what the organization did was give you that confidence, right? They went for it, they added, they didn't subtract. What does that mean to this team, that they earned that commitment from the organization to make this push for the stretch run?
Yeah, especially coming from where we were, and it was the end of June, and the conversation was around, everybody knew that we had the ability to turn and go on a run, but it was so pivotal, it had to happen when it did. And didn't necessarily have to be this kind of run, but it had to happen when it did, because another week, and you're probably getting that mode where it's creeping really close to the trade deadline and you still haven't gained any ground, and it may have been a different story. So, but then to see it all happen and turn in which fashion it did, and then to see players coming in and adding with needs of our team, I think that was very well received within our locker room.
All right, back with Lou. And Lou, remember Sam Kennedy saying, well, we'll give them a couple more weeks to see if we're going to add or subtract. They went 14-0 over those 2 weeks,
yeah.
Right? It's a 15-game winning streak. It is remarkable. There's never been a season like this.
No, and it is crazy. You sitting down talking about that, last time we were in Toronto and what was going on with Chad Tracy. And now that we're past that and this team has kind of rebounded and they're in a position there, I think we can say with all certainty that that was absolute chaos. Okay. And unseen before, to be perfectly honest with you. Not only just bringing Tracy up and Chad Epperson up, I think that's kind of common. You've seen that before, maybe AAA manager come up, but gutting your entire hitting department, bringing a low A hitting coach in, another hitting coach from the Florida Complex Rookie League. Your first base coach came from the Florida Complex Rookie League. It was just the low minor league coaches that came into the system that they say, well, they've worked with all these hitters, and Pepe Polino, very good hitting coach. But the last time he worked with Rafaela, it was, hey, trying to get him to learn that an 0 for 3, you got to play the next day. It's his first year in pro ball. They're not teaching the same things the first year in pro ball. It's just how to be a professional. Let's get a routine down. Stop eating McDonald's. You know what I mean? It's just, those are the life lessons. And now they're at the big leagues. There's ballparks our entire coaching staff have never seen before. There's pitches they've never seen live before. It was crazy the first 2 or 3 weeks. To their credit, it's been an amazing turnaround. How comfortable they got, how much work they put in, how they got the buy-in from the players. Those guys deserve a ton of credit. I know Tracy does as well. But the entire staff, the hitting department, first and third base coach, the amount of work they put in, how quickly this thing clicked, how they turned it around, is truly amazing. Forget about on the field wins and losses. Behind the scenes, it was chaos, and they just came together.
Pablo Cabrera, the first base coach, was in Portland, Maine when they called him and told him he was going to be the first base coach of the Boston Red Sox. And because he didn't want to give them any reason to think it would be difficult, he said, absolutely, I get to Toronto, I'll see you there, because Portland and Toronto's not a big deal. His passport was in Fort Myers. He flew back to Fort Myers to grab his passport and then flew to Toronto. Like, that's what was going on behind the scenes, the scramble to assemble a coaching staff. And to your point, Lou, don't you think, again, we're watching Chad Tracy manage now, right? We watched him Thursday night in that 13-inning game manage the hell out of that game and get a win, right? We've seen what Chad Tracy can do as a manager. But the first 2 weeks of that run in May, what he did was provide a little bit of stability to keep that chaos you talked about from overwhelming the entire operation.
Yeah, and it was kind of needed to have somebody familiar with, and Epi and Tracy, both of these guys probably played, for a lot of these guys. And there was a comfort there. Sometimes when you come up from AAA and you get called up to the big leagues, and Jimmy Williams was my first manager, and you come up and you see Jimmy Williams, and you had him in spring training, but it's like, this guy, you put him on a pedestal. They're the big league managers. I think Alex Cora had that presence and aura around him. When it's Chad Tracy and I'm in AAA and I come up and I've already played for him, I don't have that anxiety. I don't have that stress. I got to prove to this guy who I am. He doesn't know me. A lot of guys, Chad knew a lot of the guys that came up. I don't think it's a coincidence that Mickey Gasper came up right away and performed, that Tyron Guerrero came up and performed, that Sogard and Siegler, and that these young guys came up right away and performed. Because when they got called to the big leagues, when they walked into the manager's office, they saw Chad Tracy. It was a clap, a thump, a little chest bump. Hey, I've seen you play for the last 2 months. Just go do what you do. It's a very relaxed setting. And he's gotten so much out of those types of guys that we call like role players, right? And I think that plays a ton into it with how comfortable they are with him, how confident they are when they see him.
No doubt about it. All right, back here in Toronto, we're going to take a break. Keep talking about that coaching staff. Lou, you caught up with Jose David Flores, the bench coach and I guess motivational leader of the clubhouse. We're going to hear that conversation coming up next. Don't go away. It's 2 to the left, presented by New England Ford Dealers. Welcome back to 310 to Left, talking about the return to Toronto for Chad Tracy and his coaching staff and how much that coaching staff has meant to him. Jose David Flores at the top of that list. They were together in the minors, and now as the bench coach here, he has meant a lot to Tracy and the team through this red-hot run. He spent some time in the outfield with Lou. Here's what they had to say.
Can you put into words what happened? How is this happening? About the turnaround? You tell me.
Besides incredible, obviously, I believe the team found their identity. Obviously, the Red Sox of the past were used to hitting a ton of homers and this and that, and we've created a really good identity, and the guys know their roles. We're running the bases really good. Obviously, since day one, we've been able to pitch and catch the ball, and I think these guys now, they know their roles. We got some guys that obviously can hit the ball in the ballpark, but at the same time, we're running the bases really good. If we have to bunt, we're bunting, moving runners around, and that creates a lot of havoc, for the other teams. And we've seen, the results of it in a lot of W's, and that's, fun to watch.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. I really haven't. I don't think I'm ever going to see anything like what's happening here right now. But I want to turn the clock back a little bit. Mid-April, everyone's world got kind of turned upside down. Alex Cora gets dismissed along with 6 other coaches. You stay on as the bench coach. Take me through the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. What was probably the most challenging thing for you, this staff?
Well, obviously for me, really tough. I got a lot of friends over there that got let go, including AC, obviously, Ramon and the other guys. I believe that it was as much of a process for Trace and the staff coming in as for me. Obviously, knowing that that I've worked with Trace, for the past couple of years in Worcester, made things a little bit easier and smoother. But at the same time, I had a responsibility with the Red Sox, and I think players, obviously those first couple of weeks gravitated towards me because I was the only one, here in the staff from the guys that got let go. Obviously, the pitching guys remain untouched, but obviously I saw it as a big responsibility. I needed to give Trace, feedback on everything that was going on and what I thought could improve to get things going in the right direction. And slowly but surely, we're taking the ship where we thought that it could be since day one.
That relationship with Tracy, I think, probably helped a lot probably in the transition. I'm sure he did, as you said, leaned on you with a lot of stuff that you've been seeing going on. But talk about that relationship with Tracy, because you were with him for what, 3 years?
Yes,
down in Worcester?
yes. 3 years. Fun process. Obviously, we both interviewed for the managerial job in Worcester back in 21.
Yeah.
He ended up getting the job. Brian Abraham, our farm director, gave me a call and told me, hey, a great process during the interview. We really love what you guys brought to the table, but we're going to go with Trace, and we would love to offer you the bench coach job, if you don't mind. I said, I think you guys made the right direction, because this guy has got, a track of being a field coordinator in the past, managed through the minor leagues. His dad obviously managing the big leagues, and when I got a chance to talk to him, I had no doubt in my mind that they made the right direction, the right decision. Obviously, coming into Worcester, a lot of communication. I believe that all the knowledge that I've had in previous experiences as a coach in the big leagues and obviously as a coordinator helped him as well. And the communication we had and the trust that we have in each other, it's incredible. I have no hesitation whatsoever in telling him when I think there's something that needs to be done, and he trusts what I tell him. And if he agrees, we go at it. If he doesn't, we talk about it. And if I feel that his point is better than mine, we go with it. So it's a really good relationship.
No
and
egos.
the same type communication goes during the games. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen that we're in constant dialogue, and I think that's extremely important in order for us to keep this thing going.
So you go from first base coach, infield coach, right, working with the infielders, now you're the bench coach. So take me through the day of a bench coach, okay? You're in the car.
Yeah.
Maybe it starts before that, but on your way to the park, what time do you get there? What's that drive like?
Actually, I think my work starts at home, and I feel sorry for my lady when she's in town because, I have to sit down and do some homework. Obviously, we got guys that got, called to a duty during the big league, season that haven't had the experience on coaching, at the bases, like, for example, Pablo. So I try to do my best to help him out and to put him in the best position to provide the players, good information so they can succeed when they're running the bases and so forth. And so obviously I have to do all that thing while I'm at home so I can be fully focused on that part of my job, because when I get here, obviously we got meetings, we got advanced meetings. I'm in charge in running, those type of informations to the players. We talk a lot about pre-game plan with Bales, with Trace, with Holty, how we're going to run, our pitching that given day, and obviously the plan of attack to the pitcher that day with the hitting department. So I'm involved in pretty much everything, but at the same time, I have a lot of fun doing it. It's not like I have my hands full. I do have my hands full, but I have a lot of fun doing it. And when I see the results on the field and the guys having as much fun as they're having, to me, and I'm sure to the entire staff, is absolutely gratifying.
What time do you get here?
I get here, lately we've been getting here, we're called the show and go Red Sox nowadays, but obviously,
oh, I know.
Obviously, that being said, I use that time, that spare time that, since I don't have to be here so early, to work at home, and obviously I get a hell of a lot more done just by being at home and doing, something on my own. And when I get here, we just, go about it. Like, obviously, I'd still have my infield duties, responsibilities. Got to work with the infielders, make sure that their legs are okay and that they need a breather every now and then. I take care of that and do the scheduling. And I get a lot of help from, Charlie and the entire staff, but it's just fun.
So within a
Having
game,
a blast.
within a game, You know, 4th, 5th inning, you're hoping your job is just to watch a ball game at that point, I'm guessing. But then you have to look ahead, right? Pitch
Yes,
hit,
definitely.
Everything else, bullpen stuff. You're in that ear of Chad Tracy throughout that game talking.
Yeah, we try to stay ahead at least an inning or two. Obviously, at times things don't go like we always plan, but the majority of the time, if you do have a plan A and a possible plan B in case things don't go the way you expected, then I think, you know, the game takes you a little bit easier on that matter. And to that, you know, aspect, I think communication prior to the game is extremely important, because if we have a plan A and a plan B, depending on how things go, occasionally you have to have a plan C. Not always, but you know, there are times that you have to have it. But if you prepare for it, you feel like you're making the right decision in the end.
So when I was in Cleveland, Eric Wedge was the manager. Buddy Bell was the bench coach. And there was some kind of move late in the game, didn't work out, whether it was reliever, hit and run, whatever it was. Buddy sits down with me and says, "This is the beauty of being a bench coach." Right? I'm telling the manager what I think he should do. We do it, it doesn't work. He has to go address it to the media. I can go in the clubhouse and have a beer.
Oh, that's great, yeah. Obviously, Trace has to handle the media. I don't have to worry about any one of those guys.
He doesn't have to say Flo was the one that told me to do it.
And I can go and have a drink after the games, obviously a little bit before he does, but nowadays it's been really fun. And I think as a staff, we've created, you know, a chemistry that the players are seeing it and they're feeding from it. You know, we've come up with really important info that the players are trusting, and if we continue to do that, I think our team has a really good chance of making it deep into October, which is, you know, obviously the main goal.
Last thing, I just read that with the struggles here at home, you had the video department put a hype video together. Maybe some of the new guys, maybe some of the guys that were here last year, to remind them what this place can be like. Tell people what that was about.
Well, obviously, you know, me being a part of the staff last year and having the run that we had throughout the course of the season, all the way to clinching a playoff spot late in the almost in the last series, I believe it was, on the previous series. We got to see, and I got to experiment and to live how awesome Fenway fans can be. Obviously, they're the fans. They want to see a good show. And there was some point during the course of early in the season that we were not giving the fans the show that they deserved. And that being said, they have all the right in the world to chant whatever they want to chant. Sell the team, we suck, this and that. But in the end, you know, it's up to us to turn that around. Obviously, we have guys that did not experience that last year. We did have some guys here that went through that, like Trevor, JD, Rafaela, Willier. And it was my job, I felt at the time, to make those guys realize that fans have all the right in the world to be upset because we're not playing good baseball. What can I do as a coach and as a bench coach to help Trace, the staff, and put these players in a position where they can see what it's like to win here in Fenway? And to turn things around, because we went through that last year.
So you showed videos of
So we showed
hits.
clips, obviously, of walk-offs. I mean, I'm talking to you and I'm getting goosebumps. Rafa, prior to the All-Star break, that walk-off with, you know, Homer. And then all the moments that we have last year that I remember Fenway getting absolutely chaotic. And we put that together, and players saw it. They were like, "Oh my God, this really gets this loud," because we had obviously audio all the way to the max, so they could experience that. And then after that, we had Trevor talk about his experience, first-time playoff here, Willier, Rafa, JD, and to be honest with you, guys got sentimental because it was a great experience what we lived last year during the course of the season, and then throughout the first playoff series that we had against the Yankees. And hear the players telling that to the guys that were freshly new here, and seeing how everything started to shake their head, like in a positive way, like, oh, this is real. I think it was a wake-up call for them not to worry so much about the fans, but to worry about the things that we can control.
Yeah.
What can we control? Running hard from home to first to third on a single, listen to a scouting report, shrink the zone, attacking the zone on the mound, catching the ball, making the plays and hitting the cutoff. You can control all those things. And if we take care of those things, the game is going to award you. And I think we've seen that.
Fenway's alive now.
It is, and it's extremely fun to watch. I told Trace, I said, wait until we get back after that, road trip that we had, that we won every game prior to the All-Star break. I told him, I said, wait until we get to Fenway after the break, and you will see what it's like to be in good spirits with the fans here in Fenway, because it's been a blast. It's been fun.
3:10 to left is presented by your New England Ford dealers, who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 3:10 to left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox.
WEI Nest Jimmy Fund Radio Telethon coming up August 17th and 18th, presented by the Arbella Insurance and Arbella Insurance Foundation. You can text K-Cancer to help us strike out cancer. While we're up here in Toronto yesterday, Patrick Dempsey, McDreamy, you remember to a lot of people, now the lead in the Fox show Memory of a Killer. They're shooting here in Toronto. So I went and caught up with him to talk about the Dempsey Center in Maine, the work he's done in the fight against cancer, the Jimmy Fund Telethon, but also the Red Sox, because he's a fan. Here's what Patrick Dempsey said.
Last time I saw you in Maine at the golf tournament, Red Sox were struggling.
It was June. June was not a good month for the Red Sox. But July has just been phenomenal.
And growing up in Maine, it's a different vibe in the summer when the Red Sox are relevant. People get excited.
Yeah, because it's your whole identity is wrapped up in this team. And I don't think people realize outside of New England how important they are for the community. And that not only in Boston, but you have New Hampshire, you have Vermont, and you have Maine. And, if your team's doing well, you feel great about life. If it's not, you don't feel so good.
You're shooting here in Toronto. Do you got to sort of keep that under wraps, or?
I do. I was here last year during the playoffs, right? And unfortunately, they didn't go through. And then, the Jays went through and played the Dodgers. And the next day after the Jays lost the World Series, it was like you could just feel the air get sucked out of the entire room. So, people put their identity in a team. And I think that's the beauty of it. I think that's the passion that you have and how deeply people care about the team and the players.
I was thinking about that, and what it is community, right?
It's absolutely all about community.
And it's fans of a show.
Yes.
Fans of a team. The community you've built around the fight against cancer, right? Community is important.
And sports and cancer go hand in hand because it takes a team, right? You look at the Jimmy Fund has been around since 1943, 48 or something like that. And that was about the community, about taking care of this one kid that inspired everybody, who was anonymous, I think, until 98 or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. So it was about, giving back and taking care of your community. And I think that's very important and very much a part of what New England is about.
Two guys from Maine. People magazine called one of those guys the sexiest man alive. I'll let you decide where that went for People magazine. Here's more. We had a great interview. He's a great guy. He's done an amazing job with the Cancer Center up in Maine, and we'll air that whole thing next week. But fun to talk to him. Yeah, it's just, he said it, Lou. They brought our summer back, right? Baseball's fun again, and that matters in New England.
Yeah, and they still have meaningful baseball games, right? And this is what it is. So if it a rut, there's no question about it. Offensively, the biggest difference was offense. I think Tracy said it earlier, offense. Look at the last three games, offense. When you don't score runs, we're asking, about talking about Wong not being able to pick a ball or Contreras not being able to pick a ball or base running mistakes. You put up 6 runs, you don't talk about it. This thing started with the offense, okay? They turned it around. They have to start swinging the bats. It may take a little bit. I sure as hell don't expect it to happen tonight. They're not putting 5 on Cease. So there may be another drought here tonight, but you played so well, you've given yourself a little wiggle room here to absorb this.
2-1, 1.83 Cease against the Red Sox this year. What's the approach? What are you trying to do against Cease tonight?
First off, the hard part is getting a guy on base, but you got to get him from the stretch, right? We have seen, like, at times he's a little different guy. I mean, they rattled him one time up here. Remember, he's tumbling all over the mound. He's falling all over himself. He just looked rattled. I don't know if there was a balk mixed in there, but getting him from the stretch is extremely important. So some of your guys that like to bunt for hits, if they're going to give it to you, take that single, get on first, and see if he's different. The slider's a wipeout slider. The fastball is a power fastball. So you got your hands full. The idea is to get somebody on somehow and see if you can make a difference there. But grind at bats, try to get his ass out of the game early on and see if you can get someone in the bullpen. He's elite. He's one of the best.
All right. And remember how many outs there are, and don't go by the scoreboard. That's part of the approach for tonight. We'll see how that goes. All right, Luke, good stuff. Enjoy the rest of your morning down the hall, and I'll see you at the ballpark.
I'll meet you at the elevator.
It's a deal. Thanks for watching 310 to Left, presented by New England Ford. We'll see you again next time.